me?
Yes, yes, I can. We can hear you, Azad bhai. Please turn on the video camera.
খালেক ভাই স্ট্রিমিং শুরু হয়ে যাচ্ছে
Okay, so
give me one okay start
okay. Good morning, all. Welcome to Bangladesh Environment Network webinar number 20. And I am Khaliquzzaman. I'm a professor of geology at Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania. I have been teaching here for last 25 years. Before that, I also taught in Georgia, their Georgia state system. Prior to that, I was working with Mir Fazlul Karim in the same organization in Bangladesh, Geological Survey of Bangladesh. So we go really many years. Welcome to all. As you probably know, most of you, Bangladesh Environment Network is a civil society, non-partisan and non-political, non-profit organization. Is the self-financed organization, self-financed. We have been in existence for the last 28 years. And we have been, it's a global platform for all the Bangladeshi people who live abroad, and they are concerned about the environment in Bangladesh. And we work in collaboration with another partner organization in Bangladesh, also non-NGO, profit organization called Bangladesh Paribesh Andolan BAPA. So we are kind of partner organization. So those of you know BAPA and Ben, you know that we have been kind of a pressure group for the policy making in Bangladesh, because we are non-partisan, non-political, we are not NGO, so we are self-financed. So, we can be as neutral as possible. So welcome all of you to our 20th webinar. Is a very timely topic, earthquake risk in Bangladesh. We had 19 other webinars in the past. As I just mentioned few seconds ago, that we have been in existence for 28 years. We will celebrate our 28 years this year on July 18th in New York City Jewish Center, if you know, in Jamaica Jewish Center, from 3 to 9 p.m. All of you are invited who can attend, who are in the US or elsewhere. So it will be publicized, obviously. But for now, I want to welcome all the speakers, because as I mentioned, earthquake is a very important topic for Bangladesh, because Bangladesh sits in a very earthquake prone zone. And I'm sure most of you know that we have had many major earthquakes in our region, because our region experienced 1885 Bengal earthquake, and then 1897 Assam earthquake, 1918 Sri Mangal earthquake. All of those were really large earthquakes, and 1950 Assam earthquakes. So between the two Assam earthquakes, Assam is not far from us, only to the north of us, only 65 years in between the two major earthquakes in Assam. And also, we had 1997 Chittagong earthquake. And in addition to that, we have many, hundreds of minor earthquakes in and around Dhaka, because we have two major tectonic zones there: Dauki fault, which Dr. Seeber will talk about today, and also another thrust fault expanding from Sylhet, Kishoreganj, Norsingdi, Dhaka, Kumilla to Chittagong. And so these are the major ones. In addition to that, we have other minor faults, geologic faults like Madhupur faults, and then Jamalpur, Mymensingh, Kolkata faults, and all of these. We'll hear from the experts. And since Dhaka is very vulnerable to earthquakes, because 60 to 65% of the buildings in Dhaka city is sitting on earth filling, and 20 lakhs building, 2.1 million buildings in Dhaka are vulnerable to earthquakes. And there have been more than 500 minor earthquakes in and around Dhaka. So with all these, Bangladesh is definitely not prepared for earthquakes, because I have seen many earthquake talks in Dhaka and also here. And we have today the best of the best in earthquake research in the world, like Dr. Nano Seeber. He is a part of one of the major research group, which people who are involved in Bangladesh earthquakes and geologists, they all are familiar with them. There is a second school of thoughts about earthquakes in Bangladesh that is very much led by Mir Fazlul Karim Azad Bhai. And so there are slight difference in their assessment. We'll hear about them. One group thinks that there is a possibility of all the way from 8.5 to 9 magnitude earthquakes in and around Dhaka, whereas Mir Fazlul Karim and his research group, they think it is not probably going to be that bad, maybe in the around of 7 to 7.5. We want to hear those from the expert themselves. And then we have Dr. Ansary. Among the engineering community in Bangladesh, everyone knows Dr. Ansary. And we have also our, Mohiuddin Sikder, who is also joining from Virginia Commonwealth University. I am at Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania. We are part of the Commonwealth, not the same system, however. So with this said, let me, as I mentioned, I'm Khaliquzzzaman. I'm the global coordinator of Bangladesh Environment Network. BAN is a non-profit, partisan organization who are involved in activism and research and policy pressure group. So we have global coordinator. Original global coordinator was Dr. Nazrul Islam, who also founded BAN in 1998 when he was working at Emory University. And we have other BAN leaders here, Dr. Irfan, Dr. Dipan Bhattacharya, Hussein Azam. So with that, I am turning it over to Shahryar Kobir Neon, who will be coordinating or running the show. Welcome again, and I invite you one more time who are here in the US to join us on July 18th to celebrate our 28th year of BAN in Jamaica Jewish Center. The event will be in person from 3 to 9 p.m. So maybe Nino, if you would like to join us because you are in New York, you are more than welcome to. Arif Mohiuddin Sikder, not far from there. Fazlul Karim Azad Bhai, he attended our BAN 20th anniversary event, I remember. So I invite each of you. So over to Neon.
Thank you, Dr. Khaliquzzzaman.
Azad
I
ভাই
think
আপনি স্ক্রিন শেয়ার করুন না একটু সরি Mir Fazlul Karim please don't share the screen now.
Not yet. Yeah, we'll call you.
Okay.
Yeah, please stop sharing. Thank you for Azad Bhai.
Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Bangladesh Environment Network BAN's bi-monthly webinar number 20 on earthquake risk in Bangladesh. As we all know, on November 21 last year, at around 10:38 a.m. local time, a sudden earthquake struck central Bangladesh. This shallow magnitude 5.4 to 5.7 tremor, which is epicenter near Madhavdi in the North Sindhi district, deeply impacted our communities. Today, we gathered with empathy and purpose to honor the lives that tragically lost and more than 500 individuals that were injured across Dhaka and its surrounding areas. This moderate yet highly impactful event caused several shaking, exposing the severe vulnerability of older non-engineered structures in our densely populated capital. To address this emerging issue, BAN has organized this webinar. For those who don't know, Bangladesh Environment Network, BAN, founded in 1998, is a global and self-reliant platform on non-resident Bangladeshis and international allies dedicated to safeguarding Bangladesh's environment. I am Mohammad Shahryar Kobir Neon, and I'm currently working as a fellow for Bangladesh Environment Network. I did my bachelor's in civil engineering from the University of Asia Pacific, and I'm also a volunteer research assistant for the Azam Research Group, Water, Energy, Food, Climate Nexus Lab. And I will be your moderator for today's session. The chair of today's webinar, you have already met him, Dr. Mohammad Khaliquzzzaman, Professor of Geology and Oceanography at the Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania and Global Coordinator of BAN. Okay, so before proceeding further, think you can share, see my screen now. Before proceeding further, I want to review some housekeeping rules of this webinar. Please keep these rules carefully in your mind. At first, your active participation is important throughout the session. Right now, we have everyone on mute to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to the webinar. I'll kindly request you all to put yourself on mute at all times. Secondly, I encourage all participants to ask questions in the chat box, as we'll continue to collect your questions as they come in, and our speakers will try their best to answer your questions live as much as time permits. So please be free and ask questions as it comes to your mind. Also, if you want to get answer from a specific speaker, please mention the speaker's name in the question. Also, please make sure to mention your name and affiliation and whom you are addressing the question, so that the speakers can address some of the questions in the chat box. Those could not be asked by us due to the time issue. And another thing, that please do not mention any or share any file in the chat or password or anything else other than questions. We want your sincere cooperation through this session. And lastly, we can register to our webinar series, and it's completely optional. However, if you register for the webinar, then it will come to us and it will help us to keep you connected with Ben activities as per your preferences. I'll be sharing the link in the chat box soon. And the link, I will also read out the link in loud, which is ben-global.net/webinar-registration. I hope this helps. Okay, so we are now starting our conversation today. Now let's introduce our first speaker for the session, Dr. Leonardo Nano Seeber. Dr. Leonardo Nano Seeber is a seismologist and a special research scientist at Lamont-Doherty Earth Observatory of Columbia University. He was graduate in seismology there from 1965 to 1969. During the period when the theory of plate tectonics was being established. His academic background includes advanced studies in seismology, tectonics, earthquake science, leading to a long research career spanning more than 5 decades. His research focuses on active tectonic and the use of earthquakes as indicators of subsurface deformation. His major field areas include intraplate tectonics in Eastern North America and the Indian subcontinent, human-triggered earthquakes in the United States, Pakistan, and India, and in research in Southern California, Turkey, the Caribbean, Japan, and Bangladesh. His notable work further includes studies on Himalayan continent collision, continental transformations in California and Turkey, Mediterranean subduction rollback, and Megathrust earthquakes in Indonesia and Japan. And today he will be presenting about the Dauki fault, young and shy, but confidential. So Dr. Leonardo Nano Seeber, you may begin. I will try to remind you when 5 minutes are left. So over to you, Dr. Leonardo Nano Seeber.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So first I would like to thank the organizers of this very important meeting, and Ben, the program that Ben ascribes to is also very important. So I am interested in presenting to you some new ideas about the Dauki fault, which are being currently under investigation and hopefully will develop further. So it's preliminary results, basically, and still some ideas which are not confirmed or substantiated completely. So I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
No, we cannot see your screen yet, Nano.
Okay, let me try. How do I get out of here?
Are you seeing yourself full screen?
Yes, now I'm getting there, I think.
Okay, great.
I think Dr. Fazlul Bhai is, sharing the screen. That's why it's interfering.
No, it
Okay.
is.
Azad Bhai, please unshare your screen.
Yeah, Mr. Mir Fazlul, kindly answer your screen. Yeah.
Nano, are you still having trouble?
No, I should be able to do it. Wait a minute.
Okay, sure.
Congratulations. And I'm fine. I use all to trust me that I'm okay. I'm great. I just need a shower and I'm gonna go do that right now.
Okay, we see it now. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, I would like to start here. What you're looking at is Bangladesh borders in brown and the Shillong Massif outlined just north of the Indian border. And south of it is the Dauki fault as generally mapped. And the gray arrows are geodetic observations of motion with respect to India. So the larger arrows in the central right part of the pictures refer to the Burma convergence, and it's not the topic of my discussion today. Focus on the arrows that are on top of the Shillong Plateau or near it. You can see that they show a convergence between India, which includes Bangladesh, of course, the India plate, and the small arrows that you see in the India and Bangladesh actually are geodetic points that are moving very closely to the velocity of India. But Shillong is converging toward India, and I just realized that the scale is missing, so I will tell you that the arrows can be interpreted for a velocity of about 7 millimeters a year of Shillong moving toward Bangladesh, which means the Indian plate. So there is a convergence, significant geodetic convergence across the Dauki fault. Let's see. The next slide shows a more detailed view of the fault with its branch. It's called the Dapsi fault, the northern branch, and also shows in the dates of occurrence major earthquakes. And the one in block or thicker writing are bigger in the range of magnitude 8 and include the 1897, for example, that was mentioned before, and the 1762, which is probably actually a magnitude close to 9, and is the northernmost earthquake on the subduction zone that's usually called the Sunda Arc, which is 6,000 kilometers long. So that's an important. You hear something? Oh. So, and then these hidden to the right is this 1950 earthquake that I don't see, but it is not necessary. So, let me go to the next slide. Okay, so this picture is taken from the top of the Shillong Massif. And it's meant to give you an idea why it's called a plateau. And it's a remarkable feature that shows these very deep canyons. We are close to Cherrapunji, which is at the southern flank of the massif. And these deep canyons eroding the massif are topped by these very flat horizon, which are erosional, of course, and are usually interpreted to be to signify a tabular uplift. However, next slide, and in the slide, by the way, is Ellie Ferguson, who was my student and did work in this area with me. So rather than tabular uplift, I want to show you that in fact is the massif is an anticlinorium. Subtle, but clearly not flat uplift. It has an anticlinorium. You can see 5 profiles here superimposed, and it's a consistent pattern with a long northward limb and a much sharper southern flank, I should say, or limb, especially if you don't look at the first profile to the right, which is crossing over the western end of the Haflon fault, and therefore extends further to the south than the others. So the massif is asymmetric anticlinorium because there are multiple axes, not just one, and one of the other anticline being closely related to the Dapsi fault. So this shape is, you can call it anticline verging to the south, and is matched on the south side by a very deep trough, which is called the Sylhet Basin, and is actually the 4 deep of right now in terms of its subsidence, the 4 deep of the uplift of the Shillong anticlinorium, which is, of course, controlled by the Dauki fault. So here's the map of the Shillong anticlinorium with some geology and the tracks of our trips to study this area. And it shows that the passive margin sequence, which is mostly what you see exposed to the south on top of the Precambrian rocks, is mostly on the south side of the massif, and is consistent with the idea that the massif was part of the passive margin and is now uplifted, the passive margin of the continent of India, and is now uplifted into the anticline. The central part, my cursor is going around, is an area that we paid particular attention, south of Cherrapunji, that's up to the north here. And I'm going to show you a north-south profile across this with our interpretation. This profile is conjectural in many ways, but is based in two primary observations. First, field work in the area boxed to the left, and you recognize the same area in the main section, where we show the data that leads to this interpretation. And basically and the other piece of evidence is a receiver function that's actually from a station that's slightly to the east. And it shows that the massif is, in this point, this arrow down here, the massif is overriding sediment. So clearly, this can happen only if you have a thrust fault that emplaces the massif over those sediments. And we assume that that will be the Dauki fault. And if you extrapolate this fault, you will end up in Bangladesh quite a ways from what's usually mapped as the Dauki fault. Instead of the Dauki fault, there you would find this sets of minor faults which dip to the south and carry material up the limb of the anticlinorium to the north. So not consistent with the placement of the anticlinorium to the south and the creation of the 4D basin to the south. So in addition, a deep gorge gives us a view of this thrust that's deeper down within this darker gray, which is the trap rock of Silet. And this thrust fault may be due to flexural slip due to this kink, or to a structure that's similar to the structure involving the sediments shown shown here and down in the window, but involving the traps. So there's two possible interpretations there. But the main result is that along the base of the front of the massif, the topographic front, you do not have a Dauki fault deep into the north, but you have a antithetic fault deep into the south. So this structure is more like a roof thrust over a floor thrust, forming a triangular zone verging to the south. Next slide. Okay, let me go back. Next slide involves is a picture of Mohiuddin Akhtar, a dear friend and colleague with whom I spent a long times and interesting days in Bangladesh over the last quarter century. And next slide. Oh, but I forgot to tap. This was, can you go back? Yeah. So this shows a kink in the formation, which is consistent. It's sort of, you have to think of it the other way because the section here is looking in the opposite direction. But the location where this was taken is essentially up here. I think you can see my cursor. And it's interesting to think of this fold forming a very sharp kink that could involve the bending at all layers, including the basement. Anyway, so let's go forward. I'll skip that for the sake of time for the moment. So this is a set of data from Najman, 2000 et al., 2012, that I kind of reinterpreted and put together this frame. So what I want to focus is on the section up on the left, which shows north on the left and south on the right. And it's a section from the surface down to the Surma group. And it's also viewed in a different scale in the section below. And what you should notice is that as you move southward, the Surma group tends to thicken, whereas the Dupitila group tends to thin, particularly uppermost part of the section. Sorry. So this is consistent with what's going on now, which is the deepening of the foredeep in front of the south of Dauki. However, this is not happening during the Surma deposition and is beginning very attenuated to happen in the Tipam segment of formation. So this thickening of the foredeep marks the beginning of the uplift, as this deepening and the uplift, this narrow zone of deepening and the uplift are couples. So if you look below, the timing of that would put it between the mega sequence 2 and the mega sequence 3, which is the orange one above. And therefore, a reasonable guess, or not guess, but assumption from these data would be a date of about 3 million years for the onset, and also suggests that the uplift was possibly slower at first and it's accelerating now, which would mean an increase in the speed, the slip rate on the corresponding slip rate of the Dauki fault. So that's interesting. The red line is our sort of interpretation of this figure for the detachment that's below the folds in Tripura or in the Burma ranges. Those folds are based on the detachment that ranges 5 to 3 kilometers in depth, and this detachment could be trusted above the antithetic fault, as shown in this schematic drawing above the section. And so basically, this interpretation would identify the detachment in the Haflon fault further east as being the same fault, essentially, detachment and the Haflon fault. Let me go to the next section. Okay, so far I gave you an idea of what this section across the fault, the Dauki fault, looks in the central part. If you move east, the Shillong Massif goes under essentially it gets subducted, let's put it that way, at the deformation front of the Naga and Haflon fault further north. And this fault, the Haflon fault, the Naga ends and the Haflon fault going southward, it's traced all the way to essentially Jaflong in the central part, close to the section that I just showed you. And so these data that you're looking here in this map is the Bouguer gravity, and it clearly defines the Shillong Massif and tracks it clearly to the east below the Haflon fault and reaches almost to the central basin in the Burma ranges, the Imphal Basin, and the Chura-Champhor Mao fault, which is right lateral on the western flank of the Imphal Basin. So in this picture, the Dauki fault as the border of the massif could be traced all the way into below the central part of the Burma ranges, and would be from the Brahmaputra crossing to the west to this subducted part to the east, it would be almost 400 kilometers long. So we're dealing with a major structure, deeply rooted, that can create large earthquakes. And I think we need more attention in terms of hazard that has received so far, in my opinion. I'll skip this because I think my time is coming up. No, well, maybe I should. So this is the oblique view of the Shillong Massif anticline that shows the Haflong Fault in blue, verging to the north, and the Dauki Fault in red dashes, which is buried below. Now, we don't know exactly where that fault is, but it's somewhere out there where the topography begins to rise. And the cartoons in the middle left show how the growth of the Dauki thrust fault may affect the passive margin that is in the upper, is crossed by the sediments on the upper part of in the upper section, and the lower section, the fault grew across it and pushed the Burma accretion detachment up with this thrusting. So this would be, according to the suggestion, the detachment is actually exposed to the north as the Haflong Fault and raised by the raise of the massif and the motion of the Dauki thrust fault. Yeah, so I want to end with a look at this slide. This is a slide from Mizoram, the Azul, the capital of Mizoram, is a photo on the upper side, and the downside is a beautiful painting by local artists showing a village, idyllic scene in a village. Now, when you talk about hazard, much of the attention is on the earth that produces these earthquakes that can do tremendous havoc and destruction. But actually, we need to worry about the exposure more than we do. And the exposure to the earthquakes is obvious in these two, this comparison between these two settings. This village is consists of huts made of bamboo and possibly other wooden structures. They're totally impervious to shaking from earthquakes. However, what the capital now, Azov, is doing is building a lot of structures, allowing to build a lot of structural activity above. And I understand that this is it's hard to build this city on top of a mountain, but this is clearly exposing a lot of people to tremendous earthquake hazard out of our construction, our mode of construction. And so we need to think hard before allowing this kind of construction, because the destruction, especially when you're talking about cities, can be really catastrophic, especially if you sum up the effect of poor construction and the size of a city. Can be a catastrophe of unprecedented proportion. So I'll stop there on a very happy note, but I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Leonardo Nano Seeber, for the presentation. I think we now know how the Dauki Fault plays a major role in shaping the region's landscape and driving massive tectonic shortening. To the audience, if you have any questions regarding the presentation, please feel free to ask and also to mention the name of the speaker you are addressing the question to. We'll now move to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Mr. Mir Fazlul Karim. Mr. Mir Fazlul Karim is an engineering geologist and a licensed professional geologist in the state of New York. He holds a master's in geological exploration methods from the University of Nottingham, UK, and a master's in geology from the University of Dhaka. He is the founder of a geoscience consulting firm specializing in engineering geology, geotechnical risk assessment, and seismic hazard evaluation. His professional experience includes positions at GeoEastern Inc. and Geocomp Corporation in the United States, as well as 25 years with Geological Survey of Bangladesh, where he also served as a director. Mr. Karim collaborated with the United States Geological Survey on engineering geological mapping projects in major Bangladeshi cities and contributed significantly to national disaster risk reduction initiatives. He is a founding executive member of the Bangladesh Society for Geotechnical Engineering and the Bangladesh Earthquake Society, and is affiliated with the Geological Society of America, the Association of Environmental and Engineering Geologists, and the Southern California Earthquake Center. His work has played an important role in advancing engineering geology, seismic hazard assessment, and disaster management planning in Bangladesh. And today, we will be presenting on Would Bangladesh Experience a Megathrust-Induced Catastrophic Earthquake? So, Mr. Mir Fazlul Karim, please share your thoughts with us. One note is, since we have structured our presentation timing to 15 minutes each, following Nano's presentation, so I'll give you a remember when there is 3 minutes left. So over to you, Mr. Mir Fazlul Karim.
So I sent you, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I had some problem with continuing with my video. So I sent you in your email. Did you get it?
Yeah, I get the presentation. Do you want me to
So
share?
can you open that?
Yeah, okay. I'm sharing the presentation from here.
Yes, that would be nice.
Just give me a minute. Okay, Mr. Karim, could you please turn off your screen?
You can just replace his share with yours. Let me know if you can't.
I can't.
Okay, I'll do it. Never mind.
Okay.
Oh, fantastic. So could you give it a full screen, please? Full screen. That's good. So first I should say Assalamu alaikum to everybody, and it is really my pleasure to be with you because of my age. I am really suffering from different disease, and one of them is my brain problem. So it is not mad problem, but some problem. I forget the things, and it is very difficult to prepare any presentation. Anyway, so it is a very important topic for Bangladesh because, as you know, one of the finest geologists and seismologists, Leonardo Seeber, is with us here, and they have a fantastic work led by Mike Stekler. And they have predicted a 9 magnitude earthquake to be occurred anytime, remember. So anytime in and around Bangladesh, and the fall that is going to create that earthquake is running through Dhaka and all over Bangladesh. Next, please. So the 9 magnitude earthquake phenomena started really from Dr. Roger Bilham before Dr. Mike Stekler dipped into this phenomena of 9 magnitude earthquake to be occurred in the Indian subcontinent in some places. So Dr. Roger Bilham is one of my nice friend, and he visited Bangladesh to me when I was working in Geological Survey of Bangladesh, and we had a lot of discussions. And I met him with so many places in the world, during different conferences. And following Dr. Roger Bilham, one day I found Dr. Mike Steckler in my office in Geological Survey of Bangladesh, when they started the project from which they have found that Bangladesh is going to suffer 9 magnitude earthquake. And it's very unfortunate that that project entered through my room in Bangladesh, and the output was really very dangerous news for Bangladesh. So next, please. So this is the world famous map, one of the finest map from Bangladesh, which is showing just a big fault, thrust fault, cutting through the heart of Dhaka city. And then its length is really big. And this was a map from 2016, published in the Nature Geoscience. And the title was of the presentation, this article was Locked and Loading Megathrust Linked to Active Subduction Beneath the Indo-Burman Ranges, not in Bangladesh. It was in the Indo-Burman Ranges. So the lock and the active subduction was in the Indo-Burman ranges, and the earthquake is going to happen in Bangladesh. Okay, so just say note here. And next, please. So since 2016, by the way, I am not a seismologist, I am not an earthquake geologist, but my main track was engineering geologist. So I helped the engineers to understand the ground, to understand the earthquake situation. Then my engineer friends were very happy because, they think that 9 magnitude, they are going to design every building, every bridge, every structure by design, considering 9 magnitude earthquake. And who is paying for that? Who is paying for that? So this is a big blow for the economy of Bangladesh, because this was not a work only. This was the Columbia University opening a drain of taking money out of the country to some people. So this is a big burden for me also, because I am a number one, A-class patriotic person. So I could not take it. And then, by the way, all the expenses, my research is done by my own pocket. And I went to last time in the American Geophysical Union with the same question, and I could, so that I can meet, the people who are very expert in this field. And I met so many people. So this is a poster, and this poster depicts everything of this, the phenomena of why there will be no earthquake of 9 magnitude. Please go ahead. Yeah, next one. Yeah. So this is everybody is really, people know about this map. This is a simple map. It's a geological map. It's a modified geological map from the Geological Survey of Bangladesh, showing the distribution of earthquake. And we can see that 4 to 5 magnitude, that is the blue rectangle, are mostly spreaded in this map, and there are few 1 or 2 round sign for magnitude of more than 5.1. So anyway, historically Bangladesh has never experienced any earthquake which is greater than 6, but only one on the Seeber earthquake, that was 7.6, something like that. But there is a controversy on it. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. So, subduction earthquake. This is the depot, the South American west coast is the depot of the Megathrust earthquake. The whole coast of South America is really full of Megathrusts earthquakes. And I have really traveled, through online all over this west coast and subduction sections, and try to understand how does it look like, these subductions. So I try to visualize the same thing in Dhaka. Next slide, please. In Dhaka, to find out similar type of structure by the geomorphological setup of Dhaka, Bangladesh, but I could not find any. My 45 years geological experience did not find anything like that. So, however, some people say that Bangladesh is really very waiting for dangerous earthquakes, and so many earthquakes going to happen. But I have tried to compile the earthquakes of 1900 to 2023 and make a graph of this. So is try to understand the trend of the earthquakes. And the most earthquake of this magnitude, I don't find the magnitude of this one. Anyway, so this is the number of the 2,491 earthquakes occurred so far, having the depth of 10 to 15 kilometers. So the reason I'm showing this is that the depth is a big factor. So Bangladesh does not have the deeper earthquakes. So if you see, it is going down, and it is increasing from 10 to 50 kilometers. So, but recently the increase of 10 kilometer epicenter earthquake, focus earthquakes are increasing. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. So why we have earthquakes around the world, and why these mega earthquakes are occurring in this Sunda Trench and this around the Burmese microplate and towards north to the Myanmar. So around Bangladesh, there was no earthquake that occurred with the magnitude 8. So all these are going down and down and down because of the structure, the subduction structural geometry. So here, the recent earthquakes, there are 4 or 5, earthquakes, and they occurred in between 2004 to 2018, something like that. So the thing is, some people say once there is a big earthquake, it will take another 100,000 years to get another earthquake. But this is not right. This is not right in this region, this subduction zone. Next, please. So I tried to find out what was the missing concept of the thought in the work of the Dr. Mike Steckler's and his group. So that is a question of geometric configuration. I tried to explore the geometric configuration of the so-called blind megathrust running through Dhaka city. Next, please. So this is how old is this subduction? Actually, since the birth of the Bangladesh or Bengal Basin, this is the Indian subcontinent and around surrounding area. So this is the position of Bangladesh before the birth. So gradually, in 50 million years ago, 40 million, 30 million years. So here we can see the subduction is really getting closer to Bangladesh. And this is a recent map, and the last one, the recent map, it shows it is running through close to the Bangladesh. Next, please.
I'd like to gently remind Mr. Karim that we have 3 minutes left for the presentation.
Okay. Okay, so this is a model I tried to prepare to convince you that there is no geometric array of for a earthquake for mega earthquakes in Bengal Basin, because if you see the lower part, the Indian plate is going down. It is a flat and it's low angle, and they think that the upper sediment with a structure called decollement is getting all the energy from the east. But my dear friends, Bangladesh is moving to the northeast. No force is coming from the east. Next, please. Okay, so this is the geometry I was visualizing. I was trying to think for the proposed megathrust earthquake, which has no physical existence. Next, please. And the physical evidences are very clear on the surface. If you go to the east towards the Kaaba Fault and the Shan Plateau. So this is the picture of the this area that has the ground, the geomorphology on the ground that depicts that there is severe activity is going in under the ground. Next, please. So why we rejected the finding of megathrust earthquake, the prediction of 8.2 to 9 magnitude earthquakes, the challenge of physical and realistic subsurface data for geometric configuration of Bengal Basin was effective. The Columbia University was fair to revise their study, and recently they have revised their study, and in that still they could not really compromise here. It's greater than 8 magnitude earthquake, actually 8.2 possibility in there. Next, please. So this is the last slide, and I was very happy that my friend Dr. Mike Steckler and his student Dhiman Mandal, he was kind enough to come to me and see my poster in AGU 2023. And he had some suggestions for me, and I have adopted those, and I have taken this with respect. And this is the, I don't know whether this is the end of the debate or there should be a compromise. So I would like to go for compromise and work together, and I would like to get some real work on the geometry of the megathrust line they have drawn with the triangles, which shows that is an active one. The sign of the even of the megathrust on the chest of Bangladesh is drawn wrongly. It is not an active. So even not is a dot line, So there are so many mistakes from the and so many threats. I don't know whether it was done willingly or by mistake. So this is a big threat for Bangladesh, and they have once put a threat, then realized that, oh, Mir Fazlul Karim is really after us, let us do it again. So they used GNSS method. Orion and his other worker also helped to do this, and they found a reduced magnitude. Thank you, thank you that group. Thanks for that group that have really help us reducing little bit, and I hope it is going to be reduced by more understanding of the geology and geometry of that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mir Fazlul Karim. That was really insightful presentation. I hope the audience could learn a lot on it. To the audience, if you have any questions regarding the presentation, please feel free to ask and do mention the name of the speaker you are addressing the question to. We will address all the questions during the last 30 minutes of our session. Question and answer session is a very vital part of our webinars, and we want to make sure no questions goes unanswered. So please ask your questions in your preferred languages. So let's move to our next speaker. Our next speaker is, here you can see, Dr. Arif Mohiuddin Sikder. Dr. Arif Mohiuddin Sikder is an associate professor in the School of Life Sciences and Sustainability at the Virginia Commonwealth University, USA. He earned his bachelor's and master's and PhD in geology from the University of Dhaka, Bangladesh, where he specialized in basin tectonics, sedimentary geology, and environmental geochemistry. Throughout his career, Dr. Sikder has held research and academic appointments at the Bangladesh Petroleum Institute, the Arsenic Research Group in Dhaka, Stanford University of Bangladesh, and Virginia Commonwealth University. His research encompasses tectonics, catastrophic events preserved in the geologic record, and environmental pollution in soils and sediments. Dr. Sikder is particularly recognized for proposing the thin-skinned tectonic model for the tectonic evolution of the eastern fold belt of the Bengal Basin, and a contribution that has enhanced understanding of fold thrust belt development and regional tectonics within the Indo-Burman convergent margin. And today he will be presenting on tectonics and earthquake risk in Bengal Basin. So Dr. Arif Mohiuddin Sikder, please share your thoughts with us. I will give you a reminder when there is 3 minutes left. So over to Dr. Arif Mohiuddin Sikder.
Just a minute. Hey, why this is coming on?
We cannot see your screen yet.
Yeah, I'm trying. Just a minute. I unmuted, but it's coming again. Something happened wrong in my side of the computer. Let me do that again. Can you see my screen now?
Not
No,
yet.
we cannot see it. Yeah.
Stop share. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Thank you, Ben, for arranging such a wonderful discussion, rather. And I'm going to talk about tectonics of Bengal Basin, which was the basic thing I did in Bangladesh, and why tectonic is important for understanding the earthquake risk. I'm going to talk about a little bit in a different perspective, not the way the professors Leonardo and Azad Bhai Fazlul Karim discussed the earthquake. Earthquake prediction by number is going to be one thing, and understanding the cause. So the core message of my presentation is going to be earthquakes are symptom, tectonics are the underlying cause. So what are the basic geology? So when we do the advanced science, there are scientific and philosophical bias all the time it happened. When we started plate tectonics, we focus on only the tectonics. But the tectonics is just not the plate tectonics. It's just not the convergence or subduction at the plate margin. So we are not in the plate margin, but still we are in a risky earthquake region. So the earthquake risk is beyond.
Dr. Sikder, may I just interrupt? We cannot see your screen, like it's frozen. Are you sharing properly? Could you please share the whole screen?
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Let me try. Why this is happening? stop share. Share this window. Continue share.
The screen hasn't gone full screen yet. Yeah, now it has. Please continue.
So you have seen my core message. Earthquakes are symptom. So the risk and the earthquake is evident. We don't need to debate about it. It's happening. We can see. We don't need to have any geoscientific knowledge to prove that. But the question is that why this earthquake is happening and why this earthquake is affecting us and how much is going to be the risk and how much is going to be the danger. So if you look at the tectonic map, this is a very standard tectonic division of the Bengal Basin. And there are basically no single earthquake that proved yet a megathrust situation. And there are thumb of rule in the textbook that if it is happening in the thin skin region, the maximum earthquake is going to be the 7 magnitude. If it is in the plate margin, then it could go up to 9. How many 9 we had in last century? 3,
None.
4, 4. No, none in the world. I'm talking about in the planet.
Okay.
Yeah, the 9 happen in the Sunda subduction. 9 happen in Chile, 600 kilometers below the surface. So when we talk about the earthquake and when we talk about the risk, we should focus on the geology of the region and understand the basics. So where the plate boundary? Just drawing a plate boundary over the Dhaka is not wise. Honestly, I have got the opportunity while I was working in the petroleum industry to see all the seismic section. There are no single evidence of any thrust in the middle of the basin. So I'm going to try to look at the thing in a different way. So this is Bengal Basin, and about the subduction margin, there are no doubt in the scientific community. So where the plate margin is. And suddenly, if I draw a megathrust in the middle of a basin without having any geological evidences, seismic evidences, and not even a symptom of high magnitude
Earthquakes.
Those historical earthquakes are speculation. That Srimangol was 7.2, Assam was 8, or the Arakan earthquake was 8, because we don't have any record of those earthquakes. These are speculated numbers. So how the numbers is going to affect, that's a different thing. That's not the geology. So look at the geology. Where the earthquakes are in the plate margin. Where the plate margin? Look at the plate margin. Is there any doubt about the subduction zone where the Indo-Burman plate collided with the Indian plate?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are no doubt about it. And
No.
those regions are marked with high magnitude earthquake, high frequency of earthquake. There are two things. And there are basic thing in geology. Geology is 4-dimensional science. We need to look at the horizontal, length and width. We need to look at the depth, and we need to combine with time. So where the plate margin, we have the earthquake, high magnitude earthquake. And now we are talking about the area where the Dhaka city and the Bengal Basin is located, is one of the biggest delta of the world. A mega delta with billions of tons of sediments, highest thickness in the world. You don't have any idea how thick the sediments layer under the Dhaka city. Is more than 15 kilometers. Think of the weight of those sediments. So there are vertical component. We should not ignore that. And the most powerful thing in the universe is the gravity. We know that from the middle school science. And we cannot do any interpretation ignoring the gravitation, the load. So I tried to build up a model. This is totally a schematic model. This is not a true section. If you look at the crustal structure, how deep is the crust? What kind of crust we have below the Bengal Basin? Do we know about it?
No.
Where the transition between the Indian shield and the oceanic portion of the crust. Are we sitting over the oceanic crust or the continental crust? If we look at the subsidence rate, look at the subsidence rate number. In Sylhet, the basin is subsiding 25 millimeter a year. Dhaka is subsiding. Obviously, this subsiding is not going to be oppose the horizontal component, what the geophysicist is measuring by using the GPS. So what kind of basin we are sitting on? Ganges Delta, Bengal Basin is one of the complex basin. It's not a delta on the passive continental margin. It's not a subduction plane, just two plates colliding each other and one is subducting, because it's an oblique subduction. And a mega delta developed on it. In some places in Surma Basin, we have 18 kilometers of pile of thick sediments. What these sediments are doing? They are putting load.
Yep.
Our continental crust below the basin is not like the diagram flat. It's
Right.
it's undulated. And the crust is made of solid rock. When undulation is going to happen, it's a lot of frost and gravels are going to be formed. So this is the scenario where we're sitting on. So what are the earthquake risk area? So there are western stable shelf, what kind of a risk? We have the Hinjon, we have another kind of a risk. We have the Madhupur High, they have another kind of a risk. We have the fold belt where we had the highest magnitude earthquake, and that was 7. Is there any record in last 100 years that we have? We don't have any scientific record. Let's talk about 50 years. Do we have any record of earthquake that happened in the Bengal Basin, which is more than 6, more than 5.5? No. But we are feeling the threat of the earthquake. When earthquake is happening in Nepal, high in the Himalaya, is vibrate our city. Risk is a different aspect. Geology is another aspect. That's going to give us the link to assess the risk. So I hypothetically try to make a diagram that how much the horizontal component, the GPS, is giving the number that shifting is happening. That's probably 70 millimeter in some place. And how much is the subsidence happen? If you look at this diagram, in most places, the subsidence and the horizontal motion have the same balance, equal number. They match. What that create is a simple phrase. If it is horizontally squeezed, it's going to bend. It's going to create a vertical sag. What that vertical sag is doing, that vertical sag is accommodating the sediments. Can we feel the subsidence on the Dhaka city? When I was a freshman in geology department, I heard that 1/3 of the country is going to be underwater because of sea level rise. Nothing happened in 40 years. That means the subsidence is balanced. We can able to see. If that balance on the surface, something happened beneath, something happened on the crust. Crust is going down. And that's the challenge of isostatic balancing, a very basic thing in physics. So that's the problem of the bias of the geological science. When we use high-tech devices, we forget about the basic principles. Look at the green layer, the thin layer. It's not a straight flat layer. That's the older sediments. The red is the crust. The purple is the mantle. So when a solid crust is creating load, is pushing down in the mantle. And that it's not elastic. It's not a piece of paper that is going to be bent like that. It's going to create a lot of fracture. So hidden fault reactivation is the challenge for Bengal Basin. No megathrust. I can bet on that. There are no megathrusts in the middle of the Bengal Basin. And accidentally, I am the first person who proposed that dichotomy by studying the seismic sections. Let's move forward. Look at the subsidence rate. The subsidence that happen in the Western Shelf is 2 millimeter a year. How much subsidence is happening in Borishal Faridpur is 15 millimeter a year. How much subsidence happen in Dhaka Basin, in the Central Basin, is 24 millimeter a year. 24 millimeter a year. So in 100 years, it's subsiding. In 1,000 years, and geology is in a scale of million years. So this subsidence is happen. Why this subsidence is happen? From where that huge pile of sediments are coming? The erosion of the Himalaya in the Burman ranges, two mighty rivers combining to form the Ganges Delta. That's the basic geology and how we can relate with that with the earthquake risk. Just looking at the plate motion, just looking at the plate boundary, we know the plate boundary is 200 kilometers east of the Dhaka city. It doesn't mean that Dhaka city don't have any risk. The risk is from another side. The numbers of the predictability is very uncertain in case of earthquake, but we have to have a range.
I'd like to gently remind Dr. Sikder that we have 3 minutes
Yeah,
left.
I'm sorry. So what happened in the recent earthquake? A Ramganj earthquake happened in 2023, deep crustal signal. You know how deep it is? 34 kilometers below the surface. Not in the sediment layer, in the crustal structure. Look at the Noshindi earthquake. It's 27 kilometers, the latest one that shook the Dhaka city. The people of the Dhaka felt it literally. Very recently, an earthquake happened in Satkhira. You know, there are disagreement with the focus. USGS is saying that this is 34 kilometers. The Indians are calculating 10 kilometers. Even if it is happening in the 10 kilometers in Satkhira, where the faults are, where the fault, where the megathrust, where the plate margin, where the plate motion in Satkhira. Satkhira is a deep four-lane basin. And we had an earthquake just this year in February. So science says that why that discrepancy between the focus calculation is the soft sediments. The USGS calculated one, the Indians has calculated another. I'm going to skip this time shortage. So what should we do? Observe the nature first, catalog the event, or we are going to force our model, our assumption over the nature? Or we are going to fight with the number without knowing the reality? So the strongest conclusion of my analysis, my understanding of the geology of the basin, I'm involved with the basin analysis of the Bengal basin whole my career. There are obviously important causes and seismic risk in the Bengal basin, but that should not go more than a 5 magnitude. If that is with the isostatic balancing of the basement, combining the convergence of the plate tectonics. So the megathrust, the specific megathrust, doesn't support it by the state of knowledge of geology we have over there. Just to adjust with some number, we should not draw a line over a mega delta saying a megathrust. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. It causes panic. It's deviate the planners, policymakers. Obviously, Dhaka city is in risk. Even a 7 magnitude earthquake might cause a damage. But if a 9 magnitude earthquake happens, Dhaka is not going to exist. And now the Satkhira earthquake, if 9 magnitude happen in Satkhira, Kolkata is not going to exist. But how real are these numbers? That depends on the tectonics. And tectonics is just a small part of the geological science. We have to focus to know the causes, underlying reason, and the reality before concluding anything. So recent 5 magnitude earthquakes support active interbasinal deformation, but they do not going to cause or prove any megathrust rupture scenario in Bengal Basin. Earthquake risk is very moderate. It's going to be low frequency. Where there are megathrusts don't exist, the log theory have nothing to do with the Bengal Basin. And I'm very confident that the basin, if you apply the basic physics, basic geology, and interpret it, yeah, obviously the threat of the Dauki is there. No way to ignore it. Professor Leonardo don't understand. I'm talking about the basinal part. Dauki is more a threat than a imaginary megathrust drawn by some scientific group. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Dr. Arif Sikder, for your insightful presentation. To the audience, if you have any questions regarding the presentation, please feel free to ask and to mention the name of the speaker who are raising the question. This is an interactive session, so please, we are expecting questions from you. So please ask questions for our speakers. Next, let's move on to our final speaker for today's session. Our final speaker for today's session is Dr. Mehedi Ahmed Ansary. Dr. Mehedi Ahmed Ansary is a professor and disaster mitigation expert from the Department of Civil Engineering at the Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, BUET. After graduating from BUET in 1991 with a degree in civil engineering, he joined the same department as a lecturer in June 1991 and later became a leading researcher in earthquake engineering and urban disaster risk reduction. His research interests include urban disaster mitigation, ground improvement techniques, assessment of building and lifeline vulnerabilities, and characterization of strong ground motion using free, field, and bridge monitoring data. He is the founding director of Kuwait
It's
JITPAS.
just like a professor lecture, classroom lecture. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. Karim.
Hello.
Which JITPAS, Kuwait JITPAS, which stands for Japan
Hello, you
Institute
hear me?
of Prevention and Urban Safety, and the founder Secretary General of the Bangladesh Earthquake Society. He also serves as a director of the World Seismic Safety Initiatives. Additionally, he has contributed as an expert panel of members for several national and internationally founded infrastructure and disaster risk management projects in Bangladesh. And today he will be presenting on earthquake risk and its mitigation in urban areas of Bangladesh. So Dr. Mehedi Ahmed Ansary, please share your thoughts with us. As always, I will give you a reminder when there is 3 minutes left. So over to Dr. Mehedi Ahmed Ansary.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for giving me the floor. In fact, my presentation will be completely different, but what Professor Arif has mentioned, and also Nano has mentioned, and also Karim has mentioned, that means what will happen to our infrastructure. That is my presentation thought, and I will talk about that one, especially for Dhaka city, because the Dhaka was uttered several times already by previous presenters. So I will start with this one. You see, since I'm an engineer, I will talk more about building codes and other things. But my assumption is that since all of you has talked about the different sources of earthquakes, I'm assuming that, and last Professor Arif has already mentioned that Dauki is a threat. So assuming that Dauki is a threat and all other smaller earthquakes are there, and recently, since the North India earthquake has opened some eyes for us also, because there are some minor damages, especially in the Polash area, also in some of the parts where the soil condition is not good. Some buildings has not collapsed fully, but there is some tilt. So I will start with this figure. You see that in Turkey in 2023, there is a back-to-back two earthquake having 7.5 magnitude, and only one building is standing there, which is the building which housed the Union of Engineers. That means Turkey's engineering and architecture agency is housing their offices here. Besides this building, all the high-rise building surrounding this structure has already collapsed during that particular earthquake in 2023. So that means probably they are assuming that probably this earthquake, this building has been saved since it is designed by the engineers of Turkey. So, but in Bangladesh, whether it's true or not, that is a big issue because most of our engineers are okay. But in fact, in our engineering institute or Institute of Engineers is more of a kind of political hub for our engineers. Not because in AC, as American Society for Civil Engineers, very qualified engineers are put there as their president. But in Bangladesh, it is not like that. Unlike it is more political people, political engineers having political allegiance has been put as the president. So that is another issue. But why I'm talking about this one, because they trust that building code, if the building is following a building code, that building will survive. That's why they have shown this figure. And I'm also talking about two earthquakes back in 2010. There is a 8.8 magnitude earthquake happened in Chile, which killed only 550 people, and another 2010 earthquake which happened 15 days ahead of Chile, having a 7.3 magnitude but killing 240,000 people. So one of the major reasons of this is because Chile has a very strong building code, and Chile has a 9 magnitude earthquake back in 1960, and they followed the building code very aggressively. And sometimes they say that their building code is much stronger than US code. So that's why they save the building code, and proper application of the building code saved their lives. On the other hand, Haiti does not have any building code, and their construction is extremely poor. Even their presidential palace has also collapsed. So although magnitude of the earthquake is smaller than the Chile earthquake, but number of people died is much higher in Haiti. But Bangladesh, I think we are sitting in between. That means we have a building code, but the problem is the implementation of the building code is a very slack, or that means nobody is caring whether they will follow the building code because the government has any protocol or any method, how to implement that one properly. So there is always, although we have a Rajuk, we have a City Development Authority and other development authorities, but it is not implemented properly, and nobody is taking care about implementation of the building code. Because back in 2015, we have studied all our codes and all our laws, and we have found that we have 67 laws related to the disaster management, but none of the laws has been implemented properly. So that is our problem. We have everything in place, but none has been implemented. That is, the protocol has not been set. That is our issue. So already it has been talked, that means we have these large earthquakes, whether it is 8.5 or not, that is a different issue. Although it is saying 8.5, but I have put a question mark there. Again, we have an earthquake in Qatar with a 7.5 or maybe a little smaller, but around 7, say. So we have around 6 to 7 earthquakes having magnitude 7 around. So there is a threat. Besides this megathrust issue, we have already historical earthquakes which have 7 magnitude, plus minus 7 magnitude. So even if a 7 magnitude earthquake happens very close to our city Dhaka, we'll have a lot of problem. I will show you later on, because we have some seismic generation map developed for our city, and it will show that very problematic areas in some of the locations. And one of the thing I should clearly mention that back in 1897, we have a 8 magnitude earthquake probably, because Embraces has reduced to 8.1. Initially, it was 8.7. So it killed 1,542 people in and around Bangladesh, especially in Bangladesh, I think 500 people were killed, and in other parts of India, it is 1,000 people. So that we have to take care, because back in 1897, Dhaka has a population of only 90,000. So Dhaka now has a population of 20 million. So it is more than 700 times more. So, and number of building stock during 1897 is only probably 100, but now we have more than 2.1 million building stock in Dhaka. Out of that, 0.6 million is high-rise building. I will skip this one. And this is the map developed by CDMP. So you know that although they are showing that, but this one is for the 7062. This is for this plate boundary 1, 2, and 3, and then Dauki fault and then Mohiuddin fault. So all of this, I have shown all those earthquakes, 7 magnitude earthquake. These are all connected with this 5 boundary fault, which are very close to, because Dhaka is Bangladesh is a very small country. So if any earthquake happens in and around Dhaka within a 200-kilometer radius, it will affect Dhaka and other large cities a lot. I'll just skip this. This one, this screenshot I have taken a couple of hours back. So I follow every day Indian Met Department, and you see that most of the earthquakes is happening around this plate boundary line. So if there is any megathrust along this line, there should have been some many earthquakes, but only 1 or 3, because this couple of days back, or the last couple of weeks, I think this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 earthquakes happened inside Bangladesh, but most of the earthquake, if you can observe, that is lying along this line and also lying along this line. So these are all established fault line. And I just skip the other ones, but this is the building code. And you see that this is the Assam area, and not Assam, Sylhet area and Mymensingh area of Bangladesh. Then we have Dhaka area. So these are the third zone of Bangladesh. So this is the Seeber zone, which is very close to northeastern part of Bangladesh and also very close to India, which is in the Seeber zone. Just to show us the gravity, that means whenever we construct building here, we have to be very careful. And this is the 8.1 magnitude 897 earthquake, and which shows that all the buildings in this red zone, especially at that time, all the buildings are masonry. There is no RCC structure. All those buildings has some kind of effect due to that particular 1897 earthquake. So if this kind of earthquake happens, then what will happen? That is the issue at hand. And this is the first earthquake and their damages. So you can see there is a meter of charge in the older part of city. It is partially collapsed. It was rebuilt later on. And this is a Kachari Basha or judge's house in Mymensingh. Both of them are affected by the 1897 earthquake. And these are another two things that this is a T state which is affected, and particularly under this during this particular earthquake. Although Professor Arif has mentioned that this may be a little smaller, 7 or something, but still it damaged some of the T states, and also 10 people, including the manager's wife and their children, were killed due to that particular earthquake. But you see, there is a house which is bamboo made and it survived. So when we consider, or when we building the buildings, according to the building code, we always make such a way that, like bamboo always can sway, but it generally do not damage or do not collapse certain way. So when we design the building, our building has to be that robust. This is another earthquake which happened, I think somebody mentioned about this one also. So back in 1997, there is a Chittagong earthquake, and one family, but a poor family, were living beside this particular building. This building collapsed because the soil condition was poor, and they tried to save their lives under this building, and they are killed. And it took almost 15 days to rescue them from under this building, rubble. So this kind of thing happens in Hamzatberg area. And this is another earthquake in Mohiuddin, and this is a 5.2 magnitude earthquake. But you see, mud houses has some kind of problem, but it can be rebuilt again very quickly. But these are cyclone shelters, and this kind of cyclone shelters have this kind of problem because they did not follow the building code properly. So this kind of stuff will happen a lot of time in Bangladesh because we do not follow the building code properly. Although in the building code, it has been clearly mentioned that how we have to construct the building. So this is the, I should not talk more because it is a little kind of engineering thing, but the rod bending and that kind of stuff has to be maintained properly to make the building safe against earthquake. So this is another earthquake in Rangabati in the Borkal area. These are all, you see that 5.6, 5.2 earthquakes. Even the Northern earthquake is similar size. But since the building has not been followed, there is no lintel. So this kind of extract type of things happens, and the building has some problem because this building has to be abandoned and demolished, and a new building has to be constructed. But this is a health complex in a very remote area of Bangladesh, in the Chittagong Hill Tracts area. And this is the North India earthquake. You see that there is a permanent deformation. The buildings has some problem. Even the Polash, there is a power plant. It has also chipped because many of the electrical parts has collapsed. And some of the buildings tilted one another. So these are all due to the soil condition. So our problem in Bangladesh is many of these poor soil condition we are building. And if we do not take care of the soil, it will lots of problem will happen. This is Dhaka city, where is a population of more than.
Dr. Ansary, we have 3 minutes left, so please.
Okay, probably I will take a little more time because I told probably I will take another 7 to 8 minutes. I'll finish by 10:50. Okay, so this is the different types of building structures in Dhaka city. And among those, around 0.6 million building is 3 or 4 story or more, and those are vulnerable conditions. So we have developed under Rajuk funding, we have developed this kind of map, and this has been published in some recent engineering geology journal. So we have classified Dhaka soil, and if you see that most of the areas in the Gazipur area, the soil condition is good. I think Fazlul Bhai and others who are the engineering geologists, they know about the soil condition there, but you see that most of the areas where all our recent deposition are there and where the recent, filling ground are there, and but there is lots of, different companies, private companies who are filling the ground and building their buildings. So those are not in a very good shape. That means the soil condition is very poor, and liquefaction will be a very big problem over there. So if we do not take laws and if we do not implement, there will be a lot of problem because back in Mexico, back in 1985, the soil condition is poor up to 40 meter soft soil, and in Dhaka city, in all those pink color and red areas, soil condition is poor up to 45 meter, even the Geologist and Bushanda area. And we are building buildings there without taking care of the soil condition. So even the building is safe, but due to the poor soil condition, they may collapse. Just I skip this for other countries, but okay. So this is more technical, but I want to just mention two things. This is a moment for a building, because it has been done for a particular area in Jalshiri and Bosundhara, where soil condition is poor up to 45 meters. So we have checked that due to liquefaction, the moment coming to the building is much higher than the moment without earthquake and without liquefaction. So if we do not take care about the liquefaction issue there, the building will have a lot more forces coming onto them. So even a 6 magnitude earthquake, if it happens very close to Dhaka, it may cause some problem. If we do not take care of these things in our building code and do not follow it up. So one of the thing is we need to have some kind of soil implementing. Especially, I was in a committee of the Rupur power plant, and they have implemented or they have used deep mixing and jet grouting to improve their soil condition, because the sandy soil is there in the Rupur area. So for a small area, deep mixing is not feasible, but other techniques like sand compaction, fiber diffusion, that means you can make the buildings in the soft soil and loose sand, but you have to improve the ground on the top level. Otherwise, the moment will be high and the building may collapse. So in Dhaka city, so far, nobody is taking care of this issue. So I'm just showing that back in 2004, there is the Shakari Basin incidents, and a small, one building has been removed for making a new building, and since there is no support, another building collapsed and killing almost 90 people out of total 30 people. And it took the government and army almost 15 days. There is another incident in Shabad. It is called Shabad incident back in 2005. It is not Rana Plaza. Over there also, one particular column has been constructed in a very soft soil condition, very underwater condition. And due to collapse of that one, I think Karim Bhai knows Professor Shafiullah. So Professor Shafiullah sir has that picture. I have taken it from him. So he found out that particular column has been constructed underwater, and that particular building collapsed due to that one, although there is pile under that. So there is a lot of problem in Bangladeshi construction sector. We have to take care of those things. So even without earthquake, these things are happening. So last of all, the Rana Plaza incident. It is a very big incident, almost killing 1,100 people. And just the column condition was extremely poor. I'm talking all those things. I know most of you are in geologists, but I'm talking more about engineering thing. But engineering thing is a big issue, because when there is a building collapse, people will always charge the engineers that they have to blame them, somebody. So engineers are always the scapegoat, but sometimes the construction contractor are at fault, because they do not sometimes follow the building code, although it is written in the design. But both ways, whether the design has been done properly or it is implemented properly, that has to be taken care of, that has to be followed. I have found out that in LA and other New York and other countries, third-party vetting is always there. That third-party engineers are always checking all the construction, but in Bangladesh, there is no such law. So Rajuk and the CDA, KDA, they do not have that capacity. So that is a big issue for us. So I'll just skip these things. And just I want to show, in other countries, what we have found out, building safety certification. That means once a building has been constructed according to the designer will issue a certificate that that particular building has been constructed. That especially for Rana Plaza, after Rana Plaza, we have done this kind of certification for garments industry. So back in 2015, we have a committee formed headed by Professor J.R. Choudhury, and under their minutes, we have clearly mentioned to the government that when there is a new building being constructed, it should be supervised by a third party, and they will issue a certificate, and Raju will follow that certificate, and they will finally issue an occupancy certificate, but it has never taken place. Okay, I'm not going into detail, but this kind of certification has to be put in place. This is before checking, just after checking the building. So after 2 years, they have done a lot of work, make the building safe, and they have issued a different certification. So it takes almost 1 or 2 years to make a building safe. A lot of work has to be done. I'm just not going into details, but there is a lot of activities there. So government under JICA funding has recently retrofitted some of the fire service buildings in Dhaka city. So it is a good thing, because fire service as a first responder has a responsibility to make search and rescue for a fallen building. So it is good that at least their buildings are safe now. Not all of them, but some of them. Okay, the way forward, I'll just skip this one. I will just say two things. In Japan and other countries where there is a regular earthquake, they have, you know, many of us know about manga. Manga is the Japanese cartoon group. So through, because so far what I have talked about is the engineering solutions, but we need some kind of awareness raising issues also. So here, how after an earthquake, a family member, parents and their kids who are staying in school, some of them are staying in school, some of them staying in their offices, some of them staying at home. So how they survive and how they get together after an earthquake, that story has been uttered. So recently I'm trying to make a book of similar type of thing and to organize some kind of session for our government bureaucrats, because they need some kind of disaster imagination thing, because large earthquake, nobody has any imagination. Although North India earthquake has given them some flow, but still they need a lot of thinking. So this kind of thinking with some pictorial things we are planning. I'm just showing because this kind of thing has happened in many countries, especially in Japan, in some part of Philippines. They are trying to tell the story and how disciplined way they can stay together in a large community hall. That is another story we need to do. Because in Bangladesh, everybody wants to grab location and grab a pie of whatever they can get. So ultimately, and also EOC is another thing, Emergency Operations Center, because you know, during Rana Plaza, when that incidents happen, everybody get hold and everyone want to be there, even the minister and everybody is there at the site. But they should not be in the site. They should have a operations center. They should sit there and get the information and make some analysis. Okay, my last slide. So we need to train our architects, engineers, and planners. So fresh engineers has to be trained for a 3-month course. More professional engineers probably for a short course. We need to have third-party vetting for building, new building construction and old building retrofitting. And ultimately, the thing is, government has to issue occupancy certificate to all the buildings. Okay, thank you for giving me the floor and opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mehedi Ahmed Ansary, for your informative presentation. I think we have learned like how addressing mixing engineered ground solutions with strict drilling posts, lifeline management, disaster imagination can help Bangladesh complex seismic vulnerability. So now let's move to the audience. If you have any questions regarding the presentation, please feel free to ask, and also to mention the name of the speaker you are addressing the question to. And my sincere thanks to all the speakers for their expert contribution to the discussion session. It is now my distinct privilege to introduce our webinar chair, who will provide the concluding remarks for the session. We are honored to have Dr. Mohammad Khaliquzzaman. Dr. Mohammad Khaliquzzaman is a professor of geology and oceanography at Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania, where he also leads the Environmental, Geographical, and Geological Science Department. He serves as the global coordinator for the Bangladesh Environment Network BEN and is a vice president of Bangladesh Poribesh Andolan BAPA. His work focuses on water resources management, coastal oceanography, and sustainable development. He has authored 4 books on water resources management and environmental protection. He earned his bachelor's and master's from the Azerbaijan Institute of Petroleum and Chemistry and later received both an master's and PhD from the University of Delaware, USA. So, Dr. Khaliquzzaman, we welcome you to provide the chair summary.
Thank you, Neon, and thank you all our esteemed speakers. It was a world-class presentation for sure. We will get to the question and answer in a second, but in few sentences, I want to summarize what we have learned. For example, Dr. Nano Seeber made a very good presentation on Dauki fault. And Dauki fault, other geologists also agree that's a real threat. It's a hidden threat, but it's a real threat. It's a very well-documented, well-known convergence zone, like subduction zone, along there, the massive, Shillong Massif. If you notice from Dr. Nano Seeber's presentation, he's a world-class seismologist. Nevertheless, you saw in his cross-sections, diagrams, and maps, a lot of dotted lines and a lot of question marks. And this is not to tell that he is not knowledgeable, he doesn't know what he's doing. What I meant to say, that is the nature of geologic science, because there are a lot of unknowns and we need to collect a lot more data to fill up those gaps, to remove those question marks and the dotted lines, to make sure that there is a fault and that is the extent of the fault. Because earthquake occurs along a fault plane. We need to know the size of the fault plane, its area, and material on both sides of the fault plane, and what is slipping, and how much it is slipping by, and all these things. So I wish that Dr. Nano Seeber, as a part of Michael Steckler's group, presented that their Megathrust fault earthquake prediction. That is really the beginning of all the prediction in Bangladesh. There is going to be a mayhem about 9.0 earthquake around Dhaka, and it will be like 70-80% buildings will collapse. So instead, Dr. Seeber concentrated on the Dauki fault. It is not to say that it's not important, it is, but the majority of the controversy about what is a possibility for earthquake in Dhaka, revolves around that proposed megathrust that, in their presentation, or their publication rather, spans from Sylhet to Kishorganj to Norsingdi to Dhaka to Kumilla to Chittagong to Cox's Bazar, right? So I wish there was someone to answer those questions. And Dr. Seeber also showed in and around Dauki fault in 61 years, meaning between 1869 to 1930, in those 61 years, there were major 5 earthquakes. So it goes to show, on average, every 12 years, there is a major earthquakes in and around Dauki fault. So Dauki fault is not far from Bangladesh. So that is, I wanted to conclude, point out that is a real threat. But I wish they shed light on the Megathrust fault. And then he also mentioned how exposure of earthquake is important, right? We all know that earthquakes never really kill people. It is the buildings and structures what kill. Dr. Ansary also pointed out that, Haiti versus Turkey and other earthquakes. So if there is a major earthquake like a 9.0 in Bangladesh, and you are standing on a football field, for example, all you will feel is like a roller coaster. You will probably fall off on the ground, but you will not die from 9.0 earthquakes. But even 5.6 earthquake can kill people in Bangladesh, like the Norsingdi mother of the earthquakes, right? So that is the major thing. Mir Fazlul Karim, who is my former colleague, he really, I wouldn't say challenged, but knowing the ground geology, he really has been promoting for all these years that yes, earthquake possibility for Dhaka and eastern part of Bangladesh is a real possibility, but that is not from the proposed Megathrust fault. It is probably more like a smaller faults that Mohiuddin Sikder later really explained in details. So I thank Mir Fazlul Karim as well, because he also showed the geologic map. He mentioned very important thing is what is missing from Michael Steckler and his group is the knowledge of the geometric configuration. What I was saying about the size and shape of the fault plane, how big it is, how deep it is, how big, what is the size of it, what is the geology on either side, what are the geomorphological signature. So geometric configuration is still missing. So my point is, Michael Steckler and his group, they are not, small geologists. They are huge, really, really world famous geologists. So my point is, what we need is not to make so many conclusions around major earthquakes in Bangladesh based on one major study. For a country like Bangladesh, we need to have dozens of such studies and then come to a conclusion by refining those missing gaps and dotted lines and question marks. So Michael Steckler's study, in my mind, is just a beginning. If it was to happen in a country like US, that there was a prediction for 9.0 earthquake, then there will be hundreds of publications in and around that proposed megathrust fault. Bangladesh is a resource and research starved country. So we are all revolving around one study and saying that, Bangladesh is going to just collapse. So my suggestion is to the government and to the academician to take up that project and do a lot more study in and around that proposed megathrust. It may not be a megathrust, but there is that arch-looking fault plane for sure, starting from Sylhet, Kisharganj, and then Norsingdi, Dhaka, Kumilla, and that arch that going, across Bangladesh, right? So we need to understand the geomorphology and geometric configuration as Fazlul Karim proposed. So we are not rejecting 9.8. This is kind of a prediction, really, not based on real data, right? And also then I go to Arif Mohiuddin Sikder. He really explained in a very eloquent way, in a professorial way, he's a professor for sure, that how the basics of earthquake works. So his really thesis is Bangladesh Delta or Bangladesh Basin is not really, all that suitable for a 9.0 earthquake because this is really the major sediment thickness, 15 to 20 kilometer, and that is pushing pressure on the underlying lithosphere and the asthenosphere rather. Therefore, there are some fractures, there are some hidden fault fractures within the crust, and this is what is being activated occasionally and creating earthquakes. He gave a lot of examples, anything from Noshingdi to Satkira, and he showed that those places are far away from proposed mega thrust fault. Yet we are having earthquakes. And those earthquakes magnitudes are nowhere near 9.0. All the scientifically measured earthquake in Bangladesh doesn't go really above 7. All these things are prediction, like Sri Mongol earthquake, Great Indian earthquakes. We didn't have USGS recording and such in the past. So those are mere prediction, that 8.7 or not, right? So I think that it's a good feeling to know both from Mir Fazlul Karim and from Arif Mohiuddin Sikder, that good feeling in the sense that most likely they're not, that we will not have a 9.0 earthquake. There will be earthquake. Both of them said, all three geologists here agrees that Bangladesh is an earthquake zone for sure. But hopefully it is not going to be 8 or 9, right? But then we go to Dr. Mehedi, Ansary, who is a prominent structural, engineers. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I met him on the screen, on TV screen, So he is very, well revered and very, prestigious, like engineers. So he showed also how earthquake does not really kill. It's the Haiti and all this. But he also showed that in Dhaka and Bangladesh and in our part of the world, there are many earthquakes, like literally hundreds of earthquakes, range between 5 and 7. And for the lack of implementation of all the laws in Bangladesh, which is the case, by the way, not for earthquakes, also for other areas of life that we are concerned about, like the water resources management, water pollution. Laws and policies are there, no one is implementing. Same thing is happening with the building code. So Dr. Ansary mentioned that your earthquake do not have to be 9 for a soil condition in Dhaka specifically, earth filling, but not really following the building codes and packing the soil and all this. So even 6.0 earthquake can cause mayhem in Dhaka. It can. So earthquakes shouldn't be taken lightly in Bangladesh, although they will not reach 7 or 8. So, and Dr. Ansary also then proposed that we need to really follow building safety certification by third party. And in another presentation, I have seen Dr. Ansary proposes how he trained a lot of new engineers to really assess which buildings in Dhaka cities should be retrofitted or which should be really completely done over, meaning that maybe removed altogether and built afresh, or how we should really follow the building code for new buildings. So they're engineers, they're prepared, and his group, he has prepared about 50 or so, if I am not mistaken. I know it from another show with him, 50 or so groups who are trained to assess those buildings. So in other words, that's what we have learned. So earthquake risk is real in Bangladesh, and the nature of geology is really little bit so complex, and we need way lot more study to understand the details of the geology, to see exactly what type of fault planes are there and what are the geology on either side of it, what are the geomorphic, expression of on the ground. So with this, I will say that we learned a great deal. We learned all aspect of it, and I would say that people, I'm sure that we have a lot of questions there, but I would like to know that why, for example, the Dauki fault, Dr. Seeber mentioned, there's a long fault goes east and west. Halfway into the fault, it direction kind of switches from being north sloping to south sloping. Why it happens, and whether he can really shed some light on the proposed Megathrust. Dr. Steckler, Humayun Akhtar, and all these people proposed, whether they have some new ideas about the extent of the fault, whether he is willing to revise what Fazlul Karim said from possibility of 9.0 to maybe more like a 7.5 earthquakes. So I will put that question to Dr. Seeber, and I see some hands. Dr. Nazrul Islam raised the hand. So I will get the question from Dr. Nazrul Islam, and then I will ask Nano Seeber to respond to my queries about Dauki faults and Megathrust fault, whether he has some more information about the geometric configuration and the geology on either side of the fault. And then after Dr. Nazrul Islam, I have another hand, Abdullah Shibli. But let's get those two questions. Then I will ask Neon to funnel some question to other speakers. So Dr. Nazrul Islam, please make a comment briefly.
Yes, first of all, I would like to first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for a very useful, interesting, and informative this webinar. A very nice set of papers complementing with each other. So I have one simple question for the first presenter, Professor Seeber. It's kind of a, and a comment on the presentation by Mr. Asif Mohammed Sikder. The question to Professor Seeber is the following. I'm an economist. I'm not a geologist, so I have very little understanding. But when I was writing a book on Bangladesh water development, rivers, I had to start with some geological information of Bangladesh. At that time, I had this question, which I would like to, probably Dr. Seeber can answer me to respond to my query. The question is the following. We know that the Indian plate moved towards the Eurasian plate, and it has this two types of boundaries. With the northern one, we have this converging boundary involving both subduction and collision, and then on the eastern side, it has this transform boundary. But and this was back in about 65 million years ago. My question is regarding the Meghalaya Massif. General understanding is that it was an uplift. My question is twofold. One is it an uplift of the Indian craton, or is it something, an extension of the Eurasian plate that emerges here? So what was the substratum that was uplifted? That's question number one. And what is the time period? So is it much kind of recent compared to 65 million years ago when this initial collision between these two plates happened? So those are the two queries that I had with regard to this directed towards Professor Seeber. The other is a comment. When I first, this is pertaining to the pertaining to both Mr. Fazlul Kabir's and Asif Mohammed Sikder's. When I first heard about this finding that there is a fault line that goes directly through in the middle of Bangladesh and through Dhaka, I myself was quite taken aback because from what I thought about the geology of Bangladesh, such a fault line running north and south directly in the middle of Bangladesh seemed, from my common sense point of view, somewhat puzzling. But anyway, today we had more light thrown on that question, and I am reassured by the refutation that these later two papers provided to this kind of theory, which is also associated with this probability of 9 earthquake of 9 and higher magnitudes. But the other thing that I found intriguing is Asif Mohammed Sikder's finding that with regard to subsidence.
Sorry, আমার নামটা Arif.
Arif Mohiuddin.
My idea was that there was subsidence, particularly concentrated on in the Howard Basin area, which is getting under the Meghalaya Massif at a rate of about 5 millimeters per year. But what the findings that he provided today were quite amazing, that Dhaka itself was subsiding at a rate of 24 millimeters per year. If that is the case, then over a 100-year period, the subsidence would be about 2.4 meters. We know that Bangladesh has been independent for about 50 years, so half a century is already there. That process being true, Dhaka city would have gone down by about 1.2 meters. But is it the case? I'm just curious to know, are there geological measurements supporting this finding? Because this rate seems to be quite alarming. So on the one hand, I'm somewhat feel better that this risk of earthquakes with intensity of 9 or higher is not as great as that initial paper suggested. But the subsidence rate of Bangladesh as a whole, and particularly even in the middle of it, like Dhaka, which part of Dhaka, which sits on this old alluvium deposits, so that it's much on farmer ground, but it's still subsiding at 2.24 millimeter per year. It seems to be quite alarming. So I would like to get some further reflections on this finding and what that would mean in terms of our preparations, our kind of efforts to deal with this massive fact regarding subsidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nazrul Islam. And I don't know, I should get the answers or response from Dr. Seeber and Arif Mohiuddin Sikder on the question that he raised, or should we hear about Dr. Abdullah Shibli since hands are raised?
Alec, you are
so
mute.
Please go ahead. Oh, no, I'm not muted. I'm muted now.
No, the Seeber is Leonardo is muted.
I'm not muted.
Are we taking more questions, or are we answering all the 5 questions that were asked before? Because it's running over 1 o'clock, and so maybe short answers would be appropriate, and then the people could follow up their questions and answers at a later point. I don't know. I'm just asking. I don't want to burden.
Thank you. I got your point. Thank you. So what we'll do, we'll try to get the answers of Dr. Nazrul's question. We generally try to run our webinars in a very professional manner for 2 years. I'm sorry, 2 hours. But depending on the interest and the topic, we have gone over time in the past. And what we do at that point, we let people go if they want to. If they want to hang out, they are welcome to. So since we are in the middle of such important discussion, I would say that anyone who is crunched with their time, they are welcome to leave, but we will like to hang out for a few more minutes. So Dr. Seeber, please go ahead and very briefly respond to those queries, and then Dr. Arif Mohiuddin Sikder will talk about the, respond to the subsidence question. Thank you.
Okay. So, so the basement that was uplifted in Meghalaya is definitely Indian Shield. So Meghalaya is an uplifted passive margin of the Indian continent. And that was one question. What was the other question?
Other question is timing of the upliftment.
Oh, the
was it
timing of the
65 million years ago or much later?
Much later. I showed the evidence from the foredeep that the initiation of the uplift is probably 3 million years ago.
Oh,
Extremely different time scale than the other tectonic features that we are
Professor Leonardo, don't mind. It's not basically a direct upliftment. It was part of the Indian Shield. So that Garo Rajmahal gap, it's a faulted. Its subsidence happened. So it was continuous. Because I have been working with the Deccan Plateau too. The Deccan basalts are there too. So it was basically a continuous part of the Indian Shield.
Right. Yeah.
And then
I'm
in
saying,
between,
right.
yeah, in between the Garo Rajmahal.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I
Dr.
should
Arif
say
Mohiuddin,
Indian Shield.
thank you for correction. So let him finish.
Okay, so
another question was to you, Megathrust inside Bangladesh, Bengal Basin.
Right.
Why and how?
Well, that's the question from you.
Yeah, that was question from me, Dr. Nazrul Islam also.
Okay, so that
was the question from me. Yes.
I'm interested and surprised actually at the interest on that, but I have to tell you, I was in Japan when the magnitude 9.1 occurred, and I experienced an earthquake above the rupture. And what was surprising to me is that even though the shaking was tremendous, much of the buildings survived the shaking. In fact, around us in the city, there were no collapses. What happened after, of course, was the tsunami. So, which was more than 30-meter high in places and the tremendous destruction, as we know. What happened in the earthquake is emblematic of the type of hazard that we are talking about when we talk about the subduction fault that could rupture in the magnitude 8 that you are asking about. It's a long-term repeat time that we're looking at. So the hazard is high but rare. The probability of encountering that hazard is very low. So that's an issue of understanding how it works. So to take all the opportunity to measure the hazard correctly. So you have to think in terms of routine hazard that is not as destructive but comes often, and huge hazards, they are very rare. Hazardous event, I should say, they are very rare. So in the case of Japan, there was a rupture of 60 meters, meaning the displacement of the fault was 60 meters. That's what caused the tsunami. And that kind of displacement takes about 1,000 years to build up. So that kind of earthquake that produces the kind of tsunami is very rare for any particular place. And that makes it difficult for hazard analysis because you have to decide what time scale you're interested in when you measure it. And so, for example, there's meteorites falling, and those can destroy a geologic era, but they're quite rare, fortunately. So we don't consider that a hazard even. And in earthquakes, you do have to deal with that. The larger earthquakes, the magnitude 9, are very rare event because they take up a lot of displacement on the faults, and therefore they cannot occur often. But they do occur. So we, in basic science, are interested in evaluating that possibility because it happens and you have to know about it. And then you can use that knowledge even in other circumstances. In the case of the megathrust, those displacements can get very large, close to the limit, the outer limit of the rupture. That's a concern. And that's what happened in Japan in the subduction zone there. So we are interested in exploring this possibility, and there's new data coming out showing that there are huge liquefaction events that occur in the fault belts that is submerged. And those events could be very large displacement on the megathrust that may or may not exist, but we are investigating. So I'm arguing for basic science to have a leeway to explore these low probability events, even though they can seem horrible. If they're very rare, they're not so horrible.
Okay, thank you. I would like to get a short response from Dr. Arif Mohiuddin Sikder about the subsidence and what kind of scientific measurement do we have in Dhaka and around for subsidence? Is it the data adequate or not? And Dr. Nazrul asked, so if you can briefly kind of comment on the subsidence rate that you propose. Thank you.
Yeah, so like that's called the yearly calculation. That's a empirical calculation based on the gravity, seismic, and magnetic data. It's not basically subsidence. It's the amount of space is created every year. So in a short, I'm sorry to confuse you. What I showed is basically that amount of space is created every year, and that is accommodated underneath. We basically don't experience any subsidence. If I go back to my PowerPoint, you'll see that the horizontal component and the vertical component is equal. That's why literally no basic subsidence is happening. Amount of subsidence is happening. The amount of subsidence is happening is filled up by the sediments that's coming. So it's zero subsidence literally.
Okay, so it's accommodating space. I got you. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge here some participants from Geological Survey of Bangladesh, Shahjahan and all. They always, participate in our webinar. But today is important because one thing I want to mention to this audience, Bangladesh is a unique or rather weird country where seismic risk and earthquakes are studied by meteorological, department of Bangladesh, not the Geological Survey of Bangladesh. And I proposed in the past that is really, really weird. I am proposing that, like the USGS, Geological Survey of Bangladesh becomes really the center for earthquake and seismicity studies. I don't know. I'm talking to deaf ear or not, but I'm talking to the government that I proposed in Dhaka as well. That is a very bizarre situation that there is an earthquake. We have to turn to meteorological department. Is earthquake happens in the air, in the sky? I have no idea, but that's the setting in Bangladesh. So that's a weird situation. Thank you. Any question, Neon, you can funnel to me. Or I see Dr. Irfan raised his hand. Please go ahead.
Mr. Khalikuzzman, I had a question.
I don't see you. Please identify yourself.
My name is, you don't see me? My name is Dr. Abdullah Shibli.
I already gave you floor. I already gave you floor once.
No, you never did. What happens is that in this chaotic environment, it's hard to get your questions in. I am an economist, environmental economist, and I would like to first of all raise a couple of questions that are not really, because my background is not in geology or seismology economics. One of the questions I had was in Dhaka, as soon as the issue of 7.0 or 9.0 earthquake came up, people were questioning or asking, how do we prepare for it? And secondly, whether it is worth the cost of mitigation cost is worth the risk. So if any of the expert, particularly Professor Ansary, I think, could address that, that would be good, because I know that inspection in Dhaka is very bad, and I had a relative in Purvachal who, in recent weather, found the house rattling. It was a 9-story building. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and I'm sure that Dr. Ansary would be the right person to briefly, address this. I also, in the meanwhile, just want to acknowledge some of our Bangladesh Paribesh Andolan BAPA's friends who joined us. I see on the screen Mihir Bishas. I don't know Shumon. I've seen Humayun Kabir Shumon. So I want to acknowledge them because we are our sister and partner organization. I mentioned at the upset that Bangladesh Paribesh Andolan BAPA and Bangladesh Environment Network BEN, we are really connected, really two sides of the coin. So I want to acknowledge them. Dr. Ansary, please go ahead, and if you can make a comment, about the preparedness and how should people really respond.
Thank you for giving me the floor again. In fact, what Professor Shibli has mentioned that, in fact, building safety and building checking, we have done after the Rana Plaza. And since there is some foreign buyer involved, and as the economist probably he knows that there is a Accord and Alliance. So, and Bangladesh government has also participated into that. From the Labor Ministry, I was the coordinator. So we have two papers. If you want to know the details, I can share with you 2 papers. It is published in IJDRR. International Journal of Geostatistics reaction. But in a nutshell, the protocol is there is a protocol and how to check a building, especially for the garments building, but it can be also be applied for residential building also. But the problem is when we processed this one and we requested the secretary at that time during 2015 after the Rana Plaza, the minister the secretary said probably as an engineer you are looking for more money. I said that I'm a professor, I don't look for money, but I want to put this proposal in place because after Rana Plaza, we have done this for garments factory building. So this similar protocol can be also be applied for residential building because the government didn't need to do anything, only through Labor Ministry, not Labor Ministry, for Works Ministry, they have to publish a news in the news portal that every building has to be checked by a third party and they have to submit some documentation to the Rajuk or the government authority. So this protocol generally takes, as Professor Shibli has mentioned, that generally it costs around taka 1 lakh to 2 lakh. I'm talking in Bengali taka, so that people can understand that taka 2 lakhs max for a residential building located in a 5-kata land. So, and it takes generally 15 days to 1 month to undertake the, how to say it, workflow. So once they complete the report, they will submit a report. So this
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ansary. I remember those numbers from you. I see Dr. Muhammad Irfan has raised his hand. Please go ahead and make a brief comment or question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Khalaguzan. Yeah, it was indeed a very enlightening kind of presentation, at the same time scary at moments, especially hearing things from Nano about and other ones about the potential magnitude and all these things about, what might happen to the buildings in Dhaka, which doesn't follow the codes and all those things. So in terms of the so-called debated question, in terms of the kind of impact or the magnitude of the potential earthquake, hopefully it doesn't happen anytime in the near future. I see several variables in terms of the forecast. As we all know, these events, you cannot forecast the exact timing and all those. You can only say magnitude of this kind might happen, anytime in 10, 15, 20 or 100 years. So one thing is, of course, the statistical average of the occurrences that has happened and the long-term averages. That's one thing. But today, actually, with acclaimed accomplished geologists, we heard several variables. Like there was this thing about this 24 millimeter speed, which I don't know, Nozulbhai was a little concerned, but what I was seeing is 24 millimeter is actually one of the slower or average speeds, which is what I guess Dr. Sikder has mentioned. But I am also seeing papers which says 48 or 50 millimeter speed. So my question is on that speed. And then Dr. Karim mentioned this geometry was not, there are issues around geometry of how layers are organized. So that's another. And then there was this liquefaction of the layers underneath, which also comes in discussion. So what I'm trying to ask is, if we take these as the three variables which determines this forecast, what are the range of errors, and are there like a bunch of papers where people can go and do some kind of meta study or something? Because this is an important issue, as we know. It requires preparedness, and there are a lot of, as Dr. Ansary was saying, a lot of resources involved, and there are people's lives involved. So in terms of when it comes to science, since there are debates, are there enough studies? And is someone preparing to do a meta study or something if there are enough studies? If not, are people thinking about spending more research funding actually of really trying to identify these variables with enough precision or
Thank you.
accuracy? Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
my question is basically to all the geologists.
I think it's a long discussion, I would say, but at this point, if someone wants to make a short comment, because we are running really, 2.5 hours by now. So anyone willing to make a short comment, Nano or Arif Mohiuddin Bhai, or
Yeah, I mean, yes.
We can hear you.
Yes, okay. I can just say that the facts speak by themselves. There are earthquakes that do tremendous amount of damage and similar earthquakes that do much less damage. And preparedness is the factor. And the investment is more like when you want to spend it. Because if you have a huge disaster, it costs a lot of money to come back from it. And so if you spend the right amount of money, you may be minimizing the long-term expenditure. So it's a matter of your priorities, really.
Yeah, thank you. Arif Mohiuddin Bhai, want to make one sentence or two comments, because we know it's a long discussion, but if you want to make a short comment.
It is very clear that Dhaka is in danger. So even without an earthquake, buildings are falling down.
Yeah.
So if an earthquake happens, so we don't have to worry about the big numbers, 8, 9. Even if 7 happen, Dhaka is going to be one of the disastrous things. So it's going to be the preparedness, obviously, is required. If you want to panic the government by saying 10, to force them to do something, I'm going to do that. But the science is going to be something. I don't think that big an earthquake is going to happen in Bengal Basin in next 1,000 years.
Thank you very much. What I would say, want to just mention once more, some people joined us later. Ben's webinars, this is number 20. This is one of the knowledge base on disasters and environment. Excuse me. All our webinars are recorded and found on Ben website, and Neon can mention. So this is a real knowledge depository. So please go to all 20 webinars that we have organized so far. Another thing I would like to mention that our 28th anniversary is going to happen on July 18th in New York City, Jamaica Jewish Center. You guys are invited.
Thank you, Dr. Khalikuzaman. We have several questions from the chat.
Dion, there is a PhD student from Columbia, the same lab that Nano is. So I think he has a comment. You want to read out or invite him to read it out for us?
Yes, I will. Yeah, I will invite Neon to kind of coordinate those chat questions as I mentioned in the beginning, because I couldn't pay attention to those. I was paying attention to the speakers.
Thank you, Dr. Khalikuzaman. Dr. Irfan, could you please mention?
It's Hasnat Zaman. I see him put a comment.
Okay. Yeah, I can see his comment. Mr. Hassan Zaman has written that I highly appreciated Dr. Khalikuzaman's recommendation that researchers build upon Steckler's et al.'s interpretation of potential earthquake magnitude. As a PhD student, I would like to read their published journal articles to better understand their findings on this matter.
A comment, rather, it's not a question.
Thank you for your comment. If you want to share anything else, you can come up on the camera and unmute yourself and ask here. Mr. Hasnat Zaman.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So in addition to that, I actually did a master's at Dhaka University. I'm a Dhaka University graduate where I did analyze GNSS velocity, where I found Dhaka is actually subsiding at a rate of 12.87 millimeter per year. So subsiding is really happening. And also GNSS measurement in the other part of the Bangladesh also shows that, which is the direct measurement, not ARIES hypothesis or implementation of ARIES empirical calculations. This is a direct measurement. And also most trusted vertical component measurement till date to the scientific community. So subsidence is actually happening. And yeah, I would like to add this.
Can you explain GNSS for the non-geologist here so that at least?
Okay, so GNSS, like these measures, there are satellites, there are consortium of satellites. Those are flying above the ground at different altitude, 12,000 to 24,000 above the ground, which are at their constant elevation. And we have receiver and antenna at the ground, mounted maybe on top of building or on the rod, where we do measurement of the phase velocities of those signals from satellite to ground. And then we analyze at least 3 years of data to see how much deformation is happening. So
Thank
this
you.
is the, yeah, sure.
And what is the abbreviation for GNSS?
Is Global Navigation Satellite System.
Okay.
USA has GPS, Russia has GLONASS, China has Baidu, I think. India also has that, Japan has that,
Okay.
Europe has that Galileo. So yeah, that's the consortium.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank
Jaman,
you. Anyone else, Neon, in the chat box?
Yes, Dr. Khalikuzaman. We have Mr. Khairul Anam from Chicago. He asked the question that are there any correlations between earthquake and heavy rainfall zone?
I see Dr. Anam here in the screen. If we acknowledge your presence here. He has been attending our BAN and he is also a BAN member for a long time. So thank you. If you want to ask the question directly, you can now, or he already read it for you. So who is going to respond? How about Mohiuddin Sikder?
Rainfall and the earthquake? Sorry.
I don't see any correlation, but I wanted you to say it.
It should not be.
Yeah.
I can make a comment on this.
Yes, go ahead, Azad bhai.
Actually, there are two things. One is the water is coming from the sky, and the earth itself it has own mechanism. So obviously, water is changing some properties of the earth when they are falling, but its penetration is very limited. So what we are talking about, tectonics and the structure of the earth on the crust, and even the astrosphere, even the core. So what this water is, the impact of this water is very, very negligible. It is on the surface only. It can penetrate 6 inches, 1 feet rapidly, but very slowly, only to the aquifer property, having a good aquifer properties. Only that.
Thank you.
Not that.
Thank you. And also, rainfall can initiate landslides, and major landslide is like a fault plane. It can initiate minor earthquake if you want to make that correlation.
No. I think this is a misconception. Landslide it happens on the hills. Anything happening in the subsurface is not landslide. It is ground failure under the subsurface ground failure. It is not landslide. So landslide occurs. That is true, but that is on the elevated areas. So geomorphology is important here, where it is going to give more impact. So that is the reason. geological, geomorphological mapping is required. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chris. We have
Neon.
another question, Dr. Khalid. Yes, we have another question from Muhammad Anisur Rahman, who is the Deputy Director of Geological Survey of Bangladesh. He has asked a question to Mr. Karim, that is, why Megathrust concept is error? They should have said in log part about 1,000 years, no great earthquake. Can you explain your concept?
Say it again, please, this question.
He has asked that why Megathrust concept is error. They have said in log parts about 1,000 years, no great earthquake. Can you explain your concept?
Is the person in the audience? He can ask it directly in Bangla if it is not
No, I
understood.
understand. I know him. He's a very nice gentleman from Geological Survey of Bangladesh, where I used to work. And the thing is, the question he is asking is I think he has to think about more deeper of these concepts actually. So it is a very highly developed science or technology of this satellite systems, GPS, GNSS, and the problem. He is one way right. The problem is none of this system is really able to consider the reaction of the ground. So there is a big gap between the relationship of these equipments. There is no calibration actually. So that is the reason we get lost in the data system. Analysis can get wrong. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Neon, we will wrap up very soon. If you want to see whether there are any other questions that worth mentioning or reading of.
Yes, Dr. Khalid Kuzaman, there are several other questions. Like another from Muhammad Anis Rahman to Dr. Ansary. He asked that if earthquake happens in Assam 8 magnitude, which frequency will affect Dhaka city severely? That's the question he asked to Dr. Ansary.
And at this point, I'd request to just very briefly answer those questions.
No, the thing is, frequency is a big issue, but frequency depends on the local soil. So if it matches the earthquake frequency and the soil frequency matches, then resonance may happen. But it depends, depending on the soil condition and depending on the earthquake from where it is coming, because it depends for various types of earthquake, their origin, and other issues are also involved. So it is not a single thing. So attenuation law is also a big issue here. So it is not a single solution, and we cannot say directly that there is a single frequency.
Okay, thank you. Anything else quickly?
Yes, one other question from Subinoy, Mr. Subinoy to Dr. Ansary. He has asked that considering the seismic vulnerability of Bangladesh, especially Dhaka's dense urban environment and infrastructure limitations, how feasible is it to establish an effective earthquake early warning system in Bangladesh? What would be the major technical and practical challenges?
In fact, a major challenge would be to establish several seismometers all along the outer periphery of Dhaka city. So at least we need 5 to 6 seismometers, and also the data processing will be a big challenge because Dhaka does not have a dedicated line. But I think recently private sector has some dedicated data center, because data processing has to be very fast. To issue a EAW, we call EEW, that means earthquake emergency how to say awareness or warning. So that means we need a dedicated system to get the data very quickly and process it so that we can issue early warning within 15 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. So that system has to be established, and in Japan they have it. So we have to have some collaboration with other countries, like especially for Japan.
Would you mind if I interfere just for 30 seconds? It's not going to be early warning for the earthquake. No way.
No.
Yeah,
early warning for
it's
people.
for the tsunami, we can do the early warning, but not for the earthquake. When it occurs, we can immediately able to get the data in 10 seconds. We have our own seismograph in our university.
No, but
Which is,
Bangladesh doesn't have. But Bangladesh
it's
doesn't have
not
that.
going to be the warning.
No, it is warning. Because in Japan, they put a warning within 10 to 15 seconds in the news media and also in the telephone. In fact, in
actually, Ansary and
after it's happening.
both are right. Arif also right. The thing is,
Azad bhai, please,
yeah.
ekjan kore, please.
No, okay, let me tell you. See, the wave, actually, the primary wave and secondary wave, shear wave, they have different frequency of the wavelength, and they have the reaching time is varies. So the difference between the primary wave and shear wave or secondary wave is very 10 to 15 seconds sometime. So I don't remember the exact figure, but it is like that. That is a very short, and that, that is useful only for the automated machines.
Yeah, in Japan they have it in place.
Not the human being. Human being has nothing to do with
human being cannot do that.
Yeah, so the nuclear plant,
right.
all the
Answer is right.
nuclear
Yeah.
power plant,
Please, gentlemen, let's go one person at a time. Neon, anything else?
Yes, Dr. Khalid, one last question from Mr. Tobor. He has asked that when was the seismic section for Lalmai and Raki anticline was shot? LRU4.
Oh, LRU4 was shot in 1988 or 89, and that is the only section that was shot for 8 seconds. All our seismic lines are 5 seconds for the exploration purposes. That was with the University of the Bergen and adding some money. BAPEX shoot that, and we processed that section LRU4 in BPI. BPI had their own processing system at that time.
Thank you.
So I have the paper copy. Probably digital versions are not going to be available now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohiuddin bhai. At this point, if we don't have any question in the chat, I would like to acknowledge also very late joined Rana Firdaus Chaudhary. She is the coordinator of BEN in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut chapter. Neon, is there any other questions before we can conclude?
No, Dr. Khalikuzaman. I have read all the questions that could be asked to our esteemed speakers. So
thank you very much. In that case, I would like to really thank all of our 4 wonderful speakers, Dr. Nano Seeber, and then Arif Mohiuddin Sikder, Mir Fazlul Karim, and Dr. Ansary, Mehedi Ansary, and also everyone who really asked beautiful and really deep questions. And I want to thank Neon for being the coordinator of this session today. And I want to acknowledge all the people who were present in the audience, specifically, our friends from BAPA, from Geological Survey of Bangladesh, and also Columbia University. And I don't recognize everyone, that's why I didn't mention all the other institutions. So as I mentioned before, all our presentations are recorded and they are available on our ben-global.net, our website. And so this is a knowledge base for not only for the country. I think it is a really a good initiative that Ben, we have taken up to do the bi-monthly webinar. So I invite all of you to attend our next webinar, which is always second month, this is now May, so it's going to be end of July, for example, last Saturday of the month, same time. This is the webinar, so last Saturday of the alternative month at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Bangladesh time. And our 28th anniversary of BEN will take place in New York City on July 18th at Jewish Center, Jamaica. And Rana Firdaus Chaudhary, who is here, as I mentioned, she will coordinate the event. And if you are interested, please join us and also stay connected to BEN. If even you are not a BEN member, stay connected through registration process so that you can get notification for all the upcoming events, including our webinars. And there are many of you who, I recognize that you have been attending almost all of our webinars. As I mentioned briefly, like as an example, Mr. Shahjahan from GSB, he attends most of these webinars. Some of our BAPA friends do the same. We want to, thank them, acknowledge them. I see Hasnat Jaman here. He's in New York. Ben is a global platform or diaspora Bangladeshi community who lives abroad, right? So you can become a Ben member and contribute to our cause. You can, this is the way Ben works. So you are in New York, please try to attend July 18th event at Jewish Center. You can mark it on your calendar, ask your friend, and then also invite others to join our events. And Ben and BAPA together, we organize a yearly conference on a particular theme that is appropriate for the time in Bangladesh in first week of January, more or less, a conference in person. So people who are attending here from Bangladesh, I invite you to keep an eye on those on that event. It's a very well recognized event in Bangladesh among the academicians, among the policymakers, among the activists. BAPA Ben conference, people really pay attention to when it is going to be organized. So it's roughly the first or second weekend in January. So if any of you are visiting Bangladesh from abroad, please try to present your papers. If you are from Bangladesh, try to attend our conferences and be connected with us. And I thank all of you for giving this time on the weekend from your busy schedule. So I hope to be in contact with you.